Manuel Ugarte is expected to leave Manchester United in the summer. This has been said for a while, and more reliable sources are coming out and confirming this. Benjamin Sesko has been doing some great stuff behind the scenes at Manchester United, and Ineos, who did think about bringing a striker in the summer, up and coming, are now more interested in just completely focusing on the midfield and then potentially left wing, rather than bringing another number 9 option. Despite Sesko's inconsistent start, I think they see that Mbeumo and Kone can play there, and that Sesko has got some good signs and they're ready to back that. Carrick's chances of getting the job is very, very unlikely. We're going to talk about that news. Why Manchester United must get UCL, the budget impacts it will have in terms of the transfer budget if we don't. United apparently were ready to spend big in January but decided not to, and why was that? More about Anderson, Wharton, Baleba, more about Kone, and if we get time, we'll speak about this Amorim story coming up. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your daily 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news roundup show, where I round up all the latest Manchester United news today and this evening in a 10-minute video for you guys. If you're new to the channel, I do this daily, so you're welcome to subscribe if you like this. Feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video. Let's dive into the news. Manchester United are looking to move Manuel Ugarte on in the summer, with 3 Turkish clubs, including Galatasaray, interested. It's been said for a while now that Ugarte is expected to leave Man United in the summer. Omar Barada has this 2 seasons to perform and you're out policy. We saw it with Onana, we saw it with Højlund. 2 seasons to perform and you're out. Højlund had a really good, Højlund had a promising first season at United, a shocking second season at United, and they forced him out by bringing in Sesko. Højlund didn't want to leave, but they forced him out. Onana's had 2 pretty much howlers of a season at Manchester United. He didn't want to leave. They just dropped him, kept playing Bayendier, brought in Le Mans, and forced Onana out. Man United's plan is to bring in a load of midfielders and practically force Ugarte out of the club. There is interest in him from Ajax, there's interest in him from Nice, and there's interest in him from Turkey. And I'm sure in the summer a few other clubs will pop up. I think if you play for a team, I think Ugarte for a team that doesn't have much possession would be really good. I think for a team that really doesn't have much of the ball, Ugarte could be a good asset for them. There's definitely a decent player in Ugarte. I think he'd be better utilised as an 8, winning back the ball for a team that doesn't want to dominate possession. I think he'd be really good for them. But I think for what Man United want to do, I think he's a liability. So I love this Benjamin Sesko story, and I love this Benjamin Sesko news. And I think this is a good thing for Manchester United to know this kind of stuff about our players. Peter Hall said that Sesko's conduct behind the scenes has started to win officials over. Now, Peter Hall isn't the only person to say this. There was reports by other journalists over the last couple of months about Sesko, how hard he's working and how United are happy with his attitude, being the first to training, the last to leave, and more. Peter Hall said, despite spending plenty of time on the bench, Sesko is described as one of the hardest working in the group, and his determination not to become the latest in a lifeline of big money flops at Man United has not gone unnoticed. And there's been a lot of reports of Sesko's attitude, how hard he works. Even though he scored 3 goals in 2 games and he's been sat on the bench the last 3 games, he's not dropped. He's working really hard. And there's been a lot of positivity about his attitude. And one interesting thing about Sesko is he had the opportunity to move to Arsenal last summer. He would have been on a lot more wages had he gone to Arsenal last summer. And he said no, he wanted to do another year at Leipzig, to just get another year of experience in the Bundesliga to help develop his career. He felt he maybe wasn't quite ready yet. And I like how Sesko's kind of always prioritised what was best for his career. And I think with Sesko, he's a young guy. He's the kind of guy that kind of needs someone around him that's bigger to give him a hug and to hold him at times. But I think his attitude and work rate is very promising. And I think there's promising signs there. Look, there's inconsistencies. There's going to be for a young player at Manchester United, but there's a lot of good signs there. He's working hard and he's determined to make it work. And he's someone that, really cares about his career and is a top professional. And I think United need someone like that in the dressing room. Anyway, let's continue into stories on Michael Carrick. It was said by Rob Dawson that at the time of Carrick's appointment, United also said it would take something exceptional for him to get the job permanently. The overriding message was that it's highly unlikely that the social situation would be repeated. I think if Carrick wins every game, then potentially he gets the job. But I think for Carrick to get the job, we will have to finish top 4 and have to have bad alternatives available. If we finish top 4, I think Carrick has every right to potentially get that job. But if Carlo Ancelotti and Tuchel are knocking on the door, you would probably look at those managers. If Carrick wins every single game, I feel like it'd be quite hard not to give him the job. There's a feeling Carrick won't get the job, but if he does produce something exceptional between now and end of the season, he could definitely get that job. And I'm not against that. We gave Ollie the job after a few games, and then Ollie was kind of poor towards the end of the season. With Carrick, if we wait till the end of the season, we can then judge. Anyway, let's talk about a few other stories. So Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt of the Daily Mail came out today and did say that United were weighing up making a big money move for a midfielder in late January. Obviously, they knew how important it would be to get Champions League football, and they did consider making a late move for a midfielder. But United said they were not going to do any panic deals and have always maintained that they would consider bringing forward a deal they had planned for the summer, but not necessarily bringing someone for the sake of it. United did inquire about Baleba and Gallagher late last summer and had maybe a little sniff around them in January, but no one that Manchester United wanted to bring in the summer was available. You know, players like Baleba, Anderson, Wharton, we want to bring in the summer, were not available in January, but had they been available in January, apparently United would be willing to act. The problem is we've got 14 games and 4 months from now to the end of the season, so we don't maybe need anyone if no one gets injured. If no one gets injured, then we don't really need someone. But if there's an injury or in trouble, and if we do miss out on top four because of an injury or because of a drop off in midfield, we will look at the window as a missed opportunity to boost the midfield. And the reason Champions League is so important is it speeds up the whole rebuild. The money we get from being in the Champions League increases our chances of getting literally every target, but it also improves our rebuild chances. Andy Mitten said, money is tight. It absolutely is. If Manchester United don't get into Europe, it's going to be tighter. You know, we've got to get into Europe. If we don't get into Europe, we don't have a huge budget. If we do get into Europe, we do have a pretty big budget. It was also said by Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt, who basically agreed with this, that missing out on Champions League, again, would put a significant dent in the club's finances and may impact the quality of player they can sign, while finishing outside the top six altogether would have a huge setback to their plans. United really need to get that top 5 finish, get that Champions League football, because the budget that's going to give us can really help us speed up this rebuild and be in a better position because of it. Do I think we really have the depth to be in the Champions League? No. Do I think we could struggle like Newcastle if we get into the Champions League? Yes. But I think it gives us the money to really improve the squad. I think the squad would probably cope better with Europa League with the rotations that we could do in the youth. But I think we need Champions League football. Hopefully we can get some good depth. Players like Bruno stay, and that would be great. Now, talking of summer, if we get Champions League football, our chances of getting our targets, Anderson, Wharton and Baleba, are higher. We want to sign 2 of these 3 players. MJ Critchley was asked if there are any other names to consider in midfield, or is it just these 3? Because we keep hearing these names over and over again. And he said other names will come into the frame if those names aren't available, because there's going to be a lot of competition from those 3 players, because they're young, talented and Premier League proven. You know, Man City are going to be looking at them. So if other clubs steal one of these players, other names will become available. And Manu Kone is the name to watch for me. I think Prem proven is big, but there's a few players outside the Prem that I think could definitely do it in the Prem. And Manu Kone is one for me. I think if we can't get Anderson, Manu Kone is potentially where I look. And talking of Kone, obviously Sesko Kone to Lausanne was a done deal yesterday. He's gone there on loan. And Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt did mention that Lausanne Sport are absolutely over the moon at locking down Sesko Kone on loan for the remainder of the season. Coaches have been blown away by his technical level on the ball, and there is a real excitement in the building at his ball-winning ability. I remember the few minutes he got in the postseason tour. He was very impressive. I'm a huge fan of what I've seen from Sesko Kone. He's obviously had setbacks this season with injuries and that, but I think he's got a really big and bright potential in football and at Manchester United potentially. So I really wish him the best on his loan, and so far they're very, very happy with what they've seen from him. And then last but not least, Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt did say that Ruben Amorim is going to wait until Manchester United's season ends before breaking his silence on the Man United exit, because he does not want to disrupt our season. But there's a feeling that Ruben Amorim, after the season is over, is going to speak out on things. Whether that's a bit of a PR move to make Amorim himself look better because Carrick is showing him up right now. Maybe it's Amorim calling out Wilcox and the board and the hierarchy, which wouldn't shock me. And I reckon there'll be some pretty interesting stuff that come out if he does that. Who knows? Amorim's not said anything since he left the club, and that's probably a good thing, apart from the fact that he's not thanked the fans or anything like that. Every single manager that's left has said a farewell but Amorim. And a lot of those fans backed Amorim through, I'd say, thick and thin, but it was mostly the bad times. A lot of those fans backed Amorim. I'm surprised he's not even said a goodbye or anything like that. But look, Amorim's gone. I don't really care if Amorim wants to speak out or not. But listen, people, I hope you enjoyed today's video. That was your 10-minute roundup. I will be back tomorrow with probably a 1 p.m. live show, depending on the news. See you next time. Bye.